You waited it out? Everyone told you to wait it out. And somehow, weeks later, the sleep is still broken, maybe worse. And you are quietly wondering if you did something wrong or if your baby is just different. What if waiting it out was exactly the wrong move? Not because you failed, but because the thing you were waiting for was never going to end the way you expected. The 4-month regression is not a phase that passes. It is a door that closes behind you. So what changed? And what do you do now? What actually works after this shift? What worked before that you can stop doing tonight? And why the usual reassurance that it gets better on its own is only half the story. Here is what is actually happening inside your baby's brain right now. Until around 3 to 4 months, your newborn sleep was driven by something called Ultradian rhythms. Short, chaotic cycles, loosely governed by hunger and basic biological need, with no real internal clock keeping time. Then, somewhere in that 4-month window, the brain's master circadian clock comes online. It fires up, it calibrates, and it permanently reorganizes the entire architecture of how your baby sleeps. Before that moment, sleep was one continuous, undifferentiated state. After it, sleep has distinct stages: light sleep, deep sleep, and true arousal points every 45 to 50 minutes, where the brain surfaces before cycling back down. That surfacing is not new fussiness, that is adult-like sleep, and it is not going away. Circadian rhythm researchers have established that this consolidated sleep-wake pattern only emerges robustly after about 2 months of age, meaning the regression arrives at almost exactly the moment the clock finishes being built. The disruption you feel is the renovation noise, not the damage. The architecture never reverts, which means everything that follows is not about getting back to where you were. It is about learning to work with a brain that has permanently upgraded. First, the strategies that worked before 4 months will not work after, and you can stop trying them tonight. Before the circadian clock came online, your baby could be rocked, nursed, or held all the way into deep sleep and stay there, because there were no true light sleep arousal points pulling her back up. Now there are, every 45 to 50 minutes, like clockwork. So if she fell asleep in your arms, she will surface at that first arousal point, find your arms gone, and that mismatch is enough to fully wake her. The research here is about mechanism, not blame. The settling strategy that worked beautifully at 6 weeks is now actively working against you, because the sleep system it was designed for no longer exists. This is not your fault. It is timing. What you do about it is start offering her the chance to settle in the place she will wake up in. Her crib, drowsy but not fully asleep, so that when she surfaces at that 45-minute mark, nothing has changed and she can cycle back down without you. You do not have to do this cold, and you do not have to do it all at once. Start with 1 nap. See what she does. Second, light is the most underused tool you have right now, and it is free. Here is why it matters mechanically. The circadian clock that just came online is still being calibrated. It is looking for environmental signals to set itself by, the same way you reset your watch when you land in a new time zone. The primary signal it uses is light. Bright, natural light during the day tells the clock it is daytime. Consistent darkness in the evening tells it night is coming. Researchers studying circadian development in infants have found that this system only becomes responsive to light cues after about 2 months, which means right now, in this exact window, your baby's clock is newly online and actively taking in the signal you are giving it. Dim the room meaningfully an hour before bed. Get her in natural light within the first hour of waking in the morning. These are not soft suggestions. They are direct inputs to the clock that is currently being set. The third one is the one most parents have completely backwards, and it only makes sense once you understand the clock piece first. Third, consistent wake times matter more than consistent bedtimes right now, and most parents focus entirely on bedtime. Here is the mechanism. The circadian clock anchors forward from the morning wake signal, not backward from when sleep starts. When your baby wakes at a consistent time, that first light exposure and activity window starts the biological countdown that determines when sleep pressure will peak again, which is what makes the next nap and eventually the night's sleep fall into place. A bedtime that moves around by 2 hours is disruptive. A wake time that moves around by 2 hours is chaos for a clock that is still calibrating itself. Pick a morning wake time and hold it within about 30 minutes, even on hard nights. The bedtime will regulate behind it. One honest limit here. The research on circadian development in infants is clearest in the 3 to 6 month window. If your baby is closer to 6 months or beyond, the clock is more established, and some of these calibration dynamics shift. The light and schedule principles still apply, but the urgency of the calibration window is lower. Treat the timing as directional, not absolute, if you are outside that early window. Fourth, what you can stop doing is waiting for her to grow out of it. The architecture that produced the 4-month regression is permanent. She did not regress into it. She graduated into it. What resolves over weeks and months is her growing capacity to self-settle through those arousal points, supported by the clock becoming more robust and anchored. That happens faster with consistent light cues, consistent wake times, and a sleep environment that matches at drowsy settling and at the arousal point. It does not happen by waiting. You were not wrong to try waiting. You were working with the information you had, and the information most parents get stops at "it's just a phase." It is not a phase. It is the upgrade, and now you know how to work with it. If this helped something click for you, subscribe. We do this every week for one specific struggle, one real piece of science. And tell me in the comments, what was the one thing someone told you about the 4-month regression that turned out to be completely wrong? I want to know.